Good morning, this is Ron Brown. I'm recording this on January 10th at 12:30 p.m. This is a follow-up to the webinar I did for my Insiders Club yesterday. The Insiders Club, there's always a lot of questions coming in and so on, and my presentation of my new files did not go that smoothly. So I am doing a follow-up video for you. I want to show you some of the things I do every day. Now this is the layout that I prefer. Here's a monthly chart, here's a weekly chart, here's a daily chart. I decided to change my mouse color. Let me point that out again. This is a monthly, this is a weekly, and this is a daily chart. It gives us totally different perspectives on what a market or a stock or a group is doing. So that's why I like to lay it out like this. This is a high definition monitor so I can get more information on the screen. Now I want to point out that once you set up a layout that you like, you can do this without using a utility like Max2. Just set it up and then close HGSI using the main menu. Just click on the X and this layout will be retained when the software is reopened. So I'll reopen it. What you're going to have to do is go back and select the graphs that you want, because you can see that they all came up as weekly graphs, but that isn't a problem. I just go to monthly, and this one I'm going to go up here to my daily VPA flags because it's got this information right here. Now, one thing I want to point out in this set of files, what I've done is I've combined two sets of charts, end of day and intraday, into one set because it was just too confusing. And this way I can have the intraday information on the top and the end of day at the bottom. So if you look closely here, you can see that the last date was 109, that was yesterday, and this would be the intraday data. Let me see if I can bring something up here. Oh, I think I'll go down to my major market ETFs. I'll bring up the Qs. And you can see the Qs come up here on the daily, the weekly, and the monthly. And then if I update this by clicking on my 5 key, what it's doing, it's providing intraday updates. And you can see that this is filling in. It's updating all this information down here. And with the recording, it slows it down. But I can see my one-day price change here. Here is the date, 110 compared to 109. So I can compare yesterday to today. Here's my time. This is Eastern Standard Time. The last is 219.18. It's only up 0.09%, and this is a telling statistic here. The intraday range is 45.63%, so it's well off of its high. Gapped up 0.35, and it is off its high, and volume is less than the 90-day moving average volume yesterday. And compare this to yesterday, where it was actually 2.4% above. So a lot of information in this box. This is a warehouse field. And what do I mean by a warehouse field? It means that I can put any information in a box like this, which is contained down here in the warehouse view. So let me show you a little trick here. I did this during the webinar, but I'll repeat it. I'm going to click on Edit and edit the current view. I'll open this up, and you can see that these are all fields that have been added from any of the warehouse fields over here. So if you're more of a fundamental trader, you want fundamentals in a window, fine. I'm more interested in the technicals, so this is what I have in here. Here's once again the intraday data compared to the end of day data, which represents yesterday. Now I'm going to close this. First of all, let me point out this is in the lower left portion of the window. You have several options here to place it on a chart. I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to delete this. So the warehouse fields are gone. I click on that, you can see it disappears. Now if I want it back, I'm going to edit the current view, and I'm going to add an indicator. I have saved this indicator down here in my user modified indicators. There are several in here, and I want the intraday and end of day warehouse fields. So that has been saved, and I just click on OK, and it's back again. So you can remove these, put them back in, put them on any part of the screen you want. If I decided that I want to move this over, to the lower right. I think it's best in the lower left, but if you want it over here, it's very simple to move. Edit the current view again, bring it up. There are many things you can do with this. Anyway, I wanted to point that out because I don't think many people know that you can save these warehouse fields and get all the information that you want in a chart. Any information that's available in a warehouse field. Now let's move on. Let me get started. I'm kind of well into this video already, and I haven't shown you what I want to show you. When I send out updates for my Insider Club, and anybody who uses HGSI can join. There's a fee, of course, but it's very minimal. I send out the market analysis user groups. This is what I use for market analysis. I don't go all the way down this list, but there's information in here, like if you're interested in e-cigarette stocks, there's a folder. Here's the canaries, and so on, mattress stuffers. This goes back to Ian many years ago. I haven't really changed them much, so I just left as is. But I concentrate mainly on the top 7 or 8 or 9. But this is where I begin every day. I go to the Major Markets Plus. I'm under User Groups, Major Markets Plus. I click through to the Warehouse view. I'm going to close this, and you can see that I'm in Major Markets Analysis, Top-Down Analysis, Major Markets Plus. I'll bring this up to show you where I am. I'm in the number 1 folder. Now, what I want to do is I want to do some analysis. What I've done here is, let me make sure that I have the complete list visible. Now I do. I can see immediately where the percentage price change one day was yesterday. You can see that it's right here at the top. That's my combo rank. The way HGSI is set up, I create views with these warehouse fields, which are over here, and then I attach a filter and a combo ranking. What the filter filters out everything I don't want, and the combo ranking ranks it according to what I want to see come to the top. And percentage price change comes to the top. So here's one day. Yesterday, this FFTY, which is an innovator IBD 50 fund ETF, was strong, up 1.2%, followed by the NASDAQ 100, NASDAQ Composite, the S&P, and very strong market. Go down here. You can see the volatility index is at the bottom, down 6.8%. What does this tell you immediately? It tells me that we're in a strong market and there's very little fear. Now, there's a lot of information in between here. I call this Major Markets Plus because it's the major markets plus some selected ETFs, which give me a snapshot of what's happening in the market. Now this is what I saw at the close. I actually do it early in the morning when I'm fresher, but a lot of people do it at night, but I can see exactly what happened during the market day. the first thing I do is I bring up the NASDAQ, and I click on my quick pick, and I go to my market charts. Click on NASDAQ internals. It says use with NASDAQ, and what it's doing, it's going to bring up the NASDAQ chart in this window. And I'll just make it full size. And let me click on this. I don't think I got the right chart, correct chart, I should say. Here's the chart I'm looking for. And you can see that I've got a lot of information over in this warehouse field. And I can see that the trend remains very strong. This represents what's happening today. Volume doesn't come into this chart until the end of the day. This is end of day data. So if I click on alternate I, it brings up this information. You can see this is from Thursday the 9th. If I go down to the bottom, let's just get this over here. This is advancing issues versus declining issues, advancing volume versus declining volume. This is new highs versus new lows, and this is the ARMS index. I'm most interested in, as of last night, it looks like the ratio is about 1.6, 1.7 to 1 advancers over decliners, and here's the unchanged stocks, and then here's the volume. It looks like it was I can't figure that quickly, but it was not massive, but it was probably about 1.7 to 1. I'm just guessing. Number of new highs versus number of new lows, and that's the information that is contained in here. Volume actually didn't look like a very strong volume day, but by the close, with all the market on close orders and so on, it was a strong day. Now, I can zoom in on this by holding my alternate 1 key and get a better look at this, and I'm going to go down to the next chart, which is new highs versus new lows. And you can see the new highs versus new lows. Now, at this point, put a crosshair on here, you can see that the new highs were much stronger than the new lows at this point as the market started moving up. And then when it got up here, the new highs kind of fell off. And now they're turning back up on heavier volume. Once again, if I hold my alternate I key, alternate information, and get on the last date, tells me what the high and low, open high and low, and the number of new highs and new lows. So it's getting stronger. It's confirming what's going on in the market right now. Okay, so I do that very quickly, and then I drop down to Ian's multiple indicator chart. This is a chart that Ian, my former partner, who passed away 3.5 years ago, he loved this chart. I'm going to make this alternate 2. These are Hindenburgs here, which give a lot of false readings, but anyway, it caused a lot of hesitation in the market. But here you can see all the confirmation. All you really needed to know is red, yellow, and green. If everything's green and dark green, indicates a very strong market. Now, the next thing I'll do, and I do this very quickly. I don't talk while I'm doing this. I click on this, and I locate the NYC composite just for comparison. And then I'll bring that quick pick back up, and I'll just look at these charts very quickly. It's confirmation here. Fan is up. New highs versus new lows going back up. That takes me about 2 seconds, and I've spent 5 minutes doing it. Now the next thing I want to show you is that on this quick pick, you can see this is top-down analysis, Major Markets Plus. I want to see what's happening today. And I have Thinkorswim running in the background. You have to have Thinkorswim. I just click on top-down analysis, major market indexes. I'll click on my F5 key, and that filled in automatically. Usually I'll let this run, and let me go there. Let it run intraday options. I'm doing a manual update here, but usually I'll let it run every 5 minutes because this computer has a lot of horsepower and I have a very high-speed internet connection. But I'll just leave it on manual for this so it doesn't drag us down. So what has happened here is I can see that gold mining, gold is up. And let's see what's gold and silver are up today. Bonds are up. NASDAQ, what's the NASDAQ itself? It's intraday price change. Percentage price change is 0.9. Okay, so it's up 8 points, it looks like right now. Where is the range? I look at the range. 55.7 is well off its high. The percent change compared to the open, it's down from the open, and I don't have any volume on this. This comes in at the end of the day. I'll bring this chart up though, and all of that information, let's go in here and I'll go to the first chart for the NASDAQ. This information is all from yesterday. But you can see that this candle corresponds to this information right down here. It gapped open and it's trading lower, but it looks like it's worked its way back up. I've been gone all morning. I'm just really seeing this for the first time myself. Let's take a quick look at gold. Sorry about that. Gold miners ETF. This is miners. It's not gold. Here's a gold spider right here. Let's look at the spider. It's up 0.73, percentage is 0.50. It's trading at 71.95% of its daily range. It's above its open. Volume is light. Here's estimated volume. Here's the intraday volume. And here's the 90-day moving average volume. So if I bring this chart up, you can see that this corresponds to this. Now let me quickly move back to this chart, which is my VPA chart, and we can compare what happened yesterday, which was the 9th, with what is happening on the 10th today. Yesterday the volume ran a little bit above normal. It closed about 61% of its daily range. It was down for the day, and you can see that. All of that information corresponds to this. So I'm going to make this an arrow, and I'm going to make it red. I'm going to drag it over here. So anything from this point down is yesterday's information. And if you look over here, the percent range, you can see where it closed at 60%. Now here's the intraday information. Here's the estimated volume, 5.5 million shares. The current volume, the 90-day volume. Intraday volume is running behind normal. It gapped up. The range is currently 71.95%, up 0.50. So this could be considered a low pivot here, and this would be confirmed when it takes that area out. But the thing that's lacking is volume. Here's the volume bar. The magenta portion is the estimated volume for the day. This is all mathematically derived from what happened on the prior day. Or I should say days. I don't know the exact formula, but it seems to work pretty well. So there you have it. You can see what happened yesterday. You can see what's happening today, and that information is also contained in this chart and other charts. And you can add these warehouse fields to any chart. Okay, I'm going to hit escape, get rid of those. And now the next thing I do, and once again, I do this in a matter of minutes. I go to File, I go to Choose Group, and generally I just move down to my major market ETFs. And these have not filled in. I have to hit my F5 again since I'm doing this manually. And these should all fill in. I should probably just let it run so this information's available. I'm going to pause this for a minute. Well, actually, it filled in right away. Let's go. I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to intraday options, update every 5 minutes. We'll see how much this slows me down. Okay, I paused it for a second there just so everything could get caught up. Now on the warehouse views, I move down to the major market ETF, so I go down to the ETF module, top-down process. Here was the end of day. Solar was very strong yesterday. Once again, the combo rank was percentage price change one day. It was at the top. Here's the tech sector. China was strong yesterday. You can see the updating process going on in the background. And with 3 charts, it takes longer. We'll see how this works out. If it's bothersome, I'll turn it off. Okay, so this is short-term strength. Now I want to show you something. I'm going to click on the ranking module. This opens up another window. And what this is doing, it's calculating anything contained in this major market ETFs folder as in the ranking module. There it is. Now this will be updated too. If it's running every 5 minutes, the ranking module updates every 5 minutes. This is yesterday. Now my comparative relative strength here versus the S&P or the S&P 500 is set on 2 weeks. So this is where the strength has been, sorry about that, over the past 2 weeks. If you go to raw relative strength, this gives you the performance, with 100 being the baseline for the S&P. So solar has outperformed the S&P over the past 2 weeks by 4.21%. Now, when you select this 2 weeks, what happens is you're using 1 week ago plus this week as it builds. So this represents up to right now, I'm doing this on a Friday, the prior week plus up through Friday. If I did this on Wednesday, it would be the prior week through Wednesday. So I'm going to bring this chart up. And here it is right here, Solar, Invesco. And here, let's look at the weekly chart here. This represents how it's outperformed the S&P over the past 2 weeks. So it would be from this would represent Friday's close or Monday morning's open and through right now. So this is outperforming. Look at these really nice VPA flags on the weekly chart and also on the daily chart here. Let's get back to the ranking module. You have several options. What I do is I compare for 2 weeks. I look at the percent change for 1 week. This is the percent change. You can see natural gas, and this would have been actually from last Friday's close through now, up 4 let's look at the daily chart. You can see this information is right here. It gapped up. Nice VPA flags setting up here again, and it gapped up today. It looks like it's losing some steam. But this information is all up to date when you use the ranking module. Very powerful stuff. You look at the VIX and the Ultra VIX down here. Look at the oil, down 5%. Let me bring this up. There you go. Very interesting. Now, one thing I want to point out, here's natural gas. It went up today. Let's go back to December 20th. I highlight this. I sort on December 20th. Back on that date, it was down at number 22 because it was going, well, it was number 22 in the ranking compared to everything else here, 1220. So it was moving up, but it was moving up less than the other ETFs in here. This is approximately 1220 right here. You know, it looked pretty strong here. But relatively, it was not that strong. Where was the strength on this date? It was once again in this solar. Look how the solar was moving up. So we get a visual here of relative strength. You just compare these dates. But currently, here's where we are. Another one I like to use is Wilder Relative Strength 14 weeks because it shows the strongest groups, or ETFs in this instance, over a longer period. So here you can see how strong this is. Now I have a chart in here. I bring the quick pick up. I just type Wilder. Whoops, bad typing. Still got it wrong. No, I didn't. Here it is, right here. So this is a chart I only use for this, but and I'll change this to a weekly chart. This shows Wells Wilder's RSI indicator of over 14 weeks. If a group or a stock, whatever, is very strong, it's going to be up in this 70 area or above it where it is. If it's weak, it's going to be down here. And you can clearly see this back here when the market was selling off. This got down to near 30. It got in the so-called oversold level. But what I use it for primarily is to see the longer term strength. And I'll get it off of raw relative strength. And see, this is going to calculate right now, which it just did. And I'll just go to relative strength, and you can see by the colors here where the Qs were over this time frame. They were green here, dipped down to yellow, and then on 11/29 it started moving up. Where exactly were the Qs on 11/29? All you have to do is sort here, and the Qs were number 5. But staying green, moving up, what was the strongest ETF then? The SPDR, the SPY Healthcare Financials. A lot of very solid information here in the ranking module. So that's another tool. I'm thinking about doing a entire webinar series. There's so much to teach and to learn that I can't really do it in these videos. So that's all stuff that'll be emphasized. Okay, I'm going to go back to VPA. Why did I say VPA in here? Because I can quickly get to this chart without looking for it. Here I spent nearly 30 minutes on something that I spend maybe 5 minutes on, doing it during the day. But, I'm just trying to show you what I do. Choose group. Now, the next thing I do is I generally, I can go to the SPDR ETF sectors expanded. Let's do that, and then I'll look at both the end of day. Okay, this is where it was yesterday. Where are we intraday right now? You can see that the pharmaceuticals are leading the way, and they're at 100% of their daily range. So pharmaceuticals are strong. You can see it here. I'll get this crosshair out of here, and let's look over here. Up 2.07 at 100% of its range, gapped up 0.36, volumes running light. Now comparing it to yesterday, volume was light yesterday. The close was positive, but the percentage price change was very small, as you can see. To zoom in, it's the alternate 1 key, And you can zoom in further if you want to up here. But this shows me intraday what is moving. It's just that the volume is extremely light, but this was the expansion and then the contraction, or the impulse and the reaction. The rule is generally don't trade the impulse unless you get in early, like on this effort to rise. Wait for the reaction, wait for a pivot, put a buy stop in, and that's when you get into these. So we didn't have any VPA flags here, probably because volume has been extremely light in here. But you can see that these candles, these two anyway, closed near their high, this near their low, but the bodies were very tight. So there was an agreement here between the bulls and the bears, as they say, and we're starting to get a move up, but the projected volume is very weak. Of course, it's a Friday with a lot of uncertainty in the world. Now I'm going to move on and show you the next thing I do. I don't want to drag this out too much, but I want you to get a feel for what I do. I may break this up into a couple of videos, and this being the market portion of it. Okay, I'm updating. You can see that it draws some resources. So next, I'll generally go to my broad market indices. What are the broad market indices? These are the HGSI generated groups. And if you look right here and look at number 3, top-down process views for HGSI indexes. And this, you can see that I only have end of day. There's no reason for intraday, and I'll show you why here in a second. But this is what happened last night, or yesterday. The SOX was leading based upon the percentage price change one day. Small cap down here at the bottom, just down a little bit. If I click on the next one, when I get into the groups, this eliminates all the groups unless they have 100,000 shares traded. This number 3 is advancers versus decliners. See, the combos determine what comes to the top. And yesterday, on the broad market indices, 19 of them were up, 1 was down. The S&P 100, there were 82 advancing issues, 18 decliners, no unchanged, and so on. Utilities, top 100 stock holdings in ETFs, 78 and 22. This is institutional money. So is this, 81 and 23, and so on. Get down here at the bottom on the S&P, 238 advancers, 281 decliners. Now here's a little trick, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. I'm going to change to the NASDAQ 100. Here's the quick pick. Down here in the list, scorecard stocks end of day. This is from the indexes, so I click on that. My combo is a demand combo. What stocks are most in demand? Yesterday, Rsi comes to the top, followed by BioMarin, NetEase, IDEX, Apple, and so on. These stocks were the stocks in most demand yesterday. So you can see that. Here's what's happening today. That represents today. On this scorecard view, I put this in at number 6 for end of day. And now that we're at intraday, I can flip to this one. Out of this same group, I use a combo I created, which takes into account price, volume, and range. You can see that BMRN is continuing. It's green over here, trading at 88.7% of its daily range. From the open, it's up 3.64%. Volume's running 149% of normal. Let's bring it up. Okay, here's your impulse, here's your reaction. There's a low pivot. It moves sideways, more pivots, and then effort to rise yesterday on very heavy volume, following through today. So we look here at 19 Yesterday, it closed at 87.46% of its range. Volume was 105% above the normal, above the 90-day. And I use 90-day because that's what all the VPA flags are based upon. And today we're up another it's up another 3.5%, trading at 88.7% of its range, and volumes essentially pretty flat. This is projected volume. No, I'm sorry, that's a gap. Here's the volume. It gapped down. That's red. Why is it red? Because it opened lower than the prior day, but buyers soon stepped in. This is the volume. Sorry about that. It is running 150% of normal. The magenta is the projected volume based upon the current volume run rate. So what I do, I just went top down, and I put these in here to make it easy so you don't have to, or I don't have to, and you don't have to go looking for these. They're right here. If you're looking, Paul Reiki wanted me to put these in. If you're looking for stocks within 5% of the 18-day exponential moving average, 5-day window with an effort to rise, that is a primary signal. These are the stocks which meet that criteria. But that's a 5-day window. If you want to know which ones meet the criteria, it was Ross Stores. Let's just bring that up. And I'll bring up, I'll just go down one level. And that's the group rank. You can see what the group is doing. I'll go up here to my daily charts. I'll use chart number 2, which has the 18-day. There's your effort to rise. Here is an effort to rise. These are all very close to the 18-day exponential moving average. There's the possibilities for HGSI are really endless. Depends on your imagination and what you want to do with this program. Okay, let me finish up this market segment. This video is getting long, but I want to finish it up, and then I'll do another video on some stock prospecting. Okay, so where do I go from here? I'm going to go back to choose groups, and this time I'm going to go, I'll go back to my user group, market analysis. I'll go to number 7. These are all of the industry groups in HGSI. And then I'm going to go back and let's just do number 3 on here. This was as of yesterday. And you can see the advancers versus the decliners. Flow control was the primary group based upon advancing issues versus declining issues. Large pharma, information services, tobacco. Where was the weakness? You click on this, go to the bottom. Transit, telecom, steel, railroad, rolling stocks. There aren't many of these, but that's where the weakness was. Let's concentrate on what happened here. And this is yesterday. That's old information. I'm at 1:20 Central Time in this market today, and this is going to be totally changed. How do we change it? Well, what I do is I make sure that I close this window, and then I go to the designer. Why do I close the window? Because it takes longer to calculate if you have that window open. I'm going to go to these industries, and then I'll go up here under Tools, and I'm going to click on Rebuild Indexes in Group. And so what happens here, it's taking, my stocks are updating every 5 minutes, stocks, ETFs, and so on. It's rebuilding the groups with the current stock prices. So this is why there's no intraday, because I'm building the intraday now. This is the only way it works. Look how quickly this happens. Then I'm going to go back to the warehouse. See, I closed it because it calculates faster. And by the way, if you do this first time, it may be slower because you have to fill the cache and then it's very fast. Now look at the difference. This is where the strength is today. Precious metal and mining, healthcare supplies, totally different look than yesterday or last night. So that's why we want to know what's happening intraday. So let's just bring up I'll bring up the precious metal chart. Minimize this. You can see that precious metals had fallen off, and this index is built by the stocks within it. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to change to the industry groups, and then I'll go back up here to the stocks intraday. See how quickly I can move around, and by looking at the effort versus momentum, the D gold or DRD is at the top of the list. It's up 9.85%, near the top of its range, up 6.74 from the open. Volume's running heavy. I'll bring the chart up, and you can see it right here. Here's a test, confirmation of the test today, and an effort to rise. This is how you do top down from the groups. Very simple. And then you determine, of course I would do this a lot earlier in the day. I'm Friday afternoon at 1:30. I certainly wouldn't be chasing this now, but I'm just showing you how you do it. So these are the best stocks in the group. I click on this. Best stocks according to the combo today. This is at the bottom, number 43. So these are the ones you want to concentrate on, especially earlier in the day. Let's look at Alamos Gold. See, this chart is not, this is a weak chart. Excuse me, let's do this. I want to see which of these stocks have been strongest the longest. So I'm going to go in here. I'm using Wild or Relative Strength 14. PAAS has been strong for a long time. Let's take a look at it. And you can see that this translates to this, a very strong stock that's had a pullback, had a beautiful run, pulled back, and now it may be gaining momentum again. And here is a test on this one. Another strong stock. Cheap stock, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if these are cheap. Inexpensive. Look at this nice move, and this is coming from the ranking module. If I go down here to McEwen Mining, this is a weak stock, totally different. Downtrend as opposed to an uptrend. Let's go back to this. Going to get the ranking module out of the way, get this quick pick out of the way. This is where you put it in perspective. Here is the monthly chart. Look at the VPA flags back down here at the $10 level. This is early 2019. Here's a weekly chart. Well, it looks like it's mid-19. Test, confirmation, move up. Impulse, reaction, test, confirmation, moved up. This is why we don't want to look just at daily charts. We want to look at the entire spectrum. One more thing. I know this is very long, but I hope you're gaining information from it. I'm going to do one more thing on my analysis. I'm going to choose group again. And I would normally do this before I go to the industries. I would go back to my user group, market analysis, and I would go back into number 4, broad market indices. And I have to get back up here. Let's do the demand supply. Let's find the S&P 1500 because it contains large cap, mid cap, and small cap stocks. Nice move up here. Lots of pocket pivots. Volume point of control is green. But I go into these. I clear this with the X, and I'm looking for the HGSI index charts. These are all charts. I don't look at all of them, but they're here for a reason. Let's let me open this up so I can find the chart I'm looking for. You can see how I'm updating in the background here. I'm looking for the above the, well, I'll bring it up rather than just talking about it, show you. In the S&P 1500, this chart shows you the percentage of stocks above, within the S&P 1500, above their 20 period moving average, their 50 period moving average, their, I'm sorry, this is 30. This is, if you look over here, 20, 30, 50, and 200. And you can see that a lot of them are above their 200, which you would expect. But it's interesting in this very strong market that a lot of these stocks are below the moving average line, and they're not anywhere near the top. Like when the market was moving up here, see how many were above the 20-day moving average, the 30-day moving average, the 50 and the 200. We've got a different picture here. What does this tell us? It tells us that this is a strong rally, but it's not really a broad-based rally. That's what it tells me anyway. And you can do this on any group. Another one I like to look at is, let me open this up. This one right here. This is 5, this is 6. This is something I came up with many years ago, probably 10 years ago. And what I did is I used a visual filter back test. And when you get a strong green bar here, it means 5 to 1, at least 5 to 1 advances over decliners. Same thing for the volume. Force index 13 and 2 turn positive. Volume point of control turns positive. I get a green line. It's a buy signal. This is a pocket pivot here. That was a great buy signal. This is a weaker buy signal because these are 3 to 1 rather than 5 to 1, 3 to 1, 3 to 1, 3 to 1, 5 to 1, but nothing recently. We did have advancing volume at least 3 to 1 on these 3 days, but the advancers versus decliners have not been strong, even though this has been a very strong move up. Look at the fan, 200, 100, 50, and 18. This is the 3 and the 6. It's turned back up. And this is calculated, what is the date on this? That's Thursday. So I would have to rebuild this to get it to Friday today. And I have not done this at this level. I always do it on the industry groups because I think that's what's most important. I'm going to close this. I'm going to see if I can rebuild these, if this will work. I don't know if it will. You're going to find out with me. Well, it looks like it will. It'll probably take a little while, so I'll pause it. Yeah, it's going pretty quickly. I'll pause anyway. Okay, I rebuilt every index in here. Let's bring the S&P back up, and you can see that it changed to the 10th today. So this bar represents today. Let me bring this up, make it full size. And this is what's going on. If you look back here in the corner, it's Friday the 10th. And just by rebuilding that, this bar was built from all of the stocks that are contained in the S&P 1500. But, you know, there's really no new information here. The 3 is above the 6. These are positive, but you can see that there is no strong volume here or no bar down here. So anyway, that's my analysis. I run through it very quickly. It's taken me 50 minutes to explain it to you, and I can do all of this in less than 10 minutes. Thanks for listening. I'm not going to add any more to this video. I'll come back and do some on a video on some of my stock screens.